All righty. Good evening, everyone. This is Brock Beard from lastcar.info. First of all, as people are starting to kind of file in here, thank you so much, everyone who was able to tune in for the premiere of episode 5 of Rise of the Field Fillers. This Morgan Shepherd episode was much more involved than I expected it to be. Obviously, with a career as long as his, it's really hard to do that justice in any period of time. And this did turn out to be the longest one so far. We still haven't had an episode that's been over an hour yet, but this one pretty close to it, about 57 minutes there. First of all, big thanks, of course, to Morgan Shepherd as well as his wife, Cindy, for making themselves available multiple times in the production of this. Back in 2017, when I first interviewed Morgan over at Darlington, I was actually already thinking about doing this book. Or this video, well, not really this video series, but it was a book at the time. And so that's why I was really already asking him about the run at Martinsville and his performance in Atlanta. Certainly didn't anticipate doing a video series at the time, but luckily I had that audio still there. Then did our interview with him beginning of December, right after our James Finch interview. So that worked out really well. Thank you also to Colin Mabey, who sponsored the video. I wasn't actively looking for sponsors for the videos there, but big thanks to him there. He was kind of helping me. He kind of had some ideas of what should be in the script. Kind of reminded me more about the iRacing events, for example. I think even that was kind of showing, just Shepherd's team and the legacy of it, even continuing so many more years after the fact. And of course, mentioning Morgan Shepherd's website at the end there, if you're interested in that as well. If for those of you who remembered our coverage at Fontana last year, both myself and Darian Gilliam over at Black Flags Matter both interviewed Morgan Shepherd there. So, we were able to get some good discussion of his team and get his team out there. Unfortunately, things with the pandemic kind of just shuffled things around a bit. But it was, it was really interesting talking with them. As you can tell, I was definitely stumbling over my words in my my first interview with Morgan those years ago. But I thought I had an idea at the time of what I was going to say to him. But, that's always comes to the territory, I guess, with anything else. Also got to thank Bill Mars and Brian Holman as well for contributing their pictures for the project. Great pictures and great stories that they were able to share with me. A lot of people were contributed to a lot of these episodes, but especially on this one, I definitely sensed that people were really excited about this one. And I took a little extra time. It's been a little bit more than a month since the Phoenix Racing episode came out. And I wanted to really make sure that it was, up to the level that it needed to be with the rest of the episodes here. And of course, we revealed what the next episode is going to be. And that's going to be one that I think is going to be really exciting as well as we continue on with this series. So, again, really enjoyed putting that one together. Morgan Shepherd's paint scheme, that green car, I think was probably one of my favorites among the field fillers that season. I know there was a lot of discussion about whether or not he should be even in this series. And Mike Joy's clip actually addresses that very well from Martinsville in 2004 as to the difference between independent drivers and field fillers. It's easy to forget, but back in 2004, that line was blurred very easily. And drivers like Shepherd and Kirk Shelmerdine, for that matter, who were quite literally owner drivers with very limited resources and had to park early in races just as a matter of survival to get from one race to the next. Very different from a couple of other teams that consciously decided to do so. And certainly later teams in this series you'll see are kind of a difference from there. But they were all kind of lumped together in that same element because you really had a lot of times where a driver would attempt to run full races as much as they could at the beginning of the year, and then things kind of tapered off towards the end of the year where they kind of had start and park runs and just had to be as conservative as possible. So that's where, and we talked about this in the first episode, there's a lot of blurring in the definition of what a field filler is versus what is an owner driver, what is an independent. So it's a lot of juggling around with that too. So, but I think when you take each of these stories one by one, you really do learn much more about these teams and what made each of them special from one to the next. And I really think that, doing this series, if I didn't do a Morgan Shepherd episode, there would clearly be concerns like, hey, why Why did you talk about him? Why did you talk about this guy? So again, we're casting a very broad definition of field fillers for purpose of this series. Because that was really pretty much what the case was back in 2004. So you're going to be hearing about teams that not necessarily always start in parked or never really had an intention of building up their programs, but you're really going to have the is they're definitely the Davids versus the Goliaths here. We're going to definitely have a lot of drivers and teams that were in one way or another kind of grouped together in the back of the pack more often than not. And really not, and you've already seen just from these first 5 episodes, how different that has been. I mean, there's a lot of nuance between, say, an Arnold Motorsports or Phoenix Racing or Morgan Shepherd's team or Kirk Shelmerdine's team. So I think that's really something that hopefully when this series is all said and done, it'll accomplish is showing just how unique each of these programs are. So I hope that came across. I know I enjoyed putting it together. I'm already kind of working on getting the interviews together for this next episode. I actually haven't had any completed interviews for that one yet. The other 2 interviews that I've since completed are actually for I believe it's the next 2 episodes after that. So that's going to take a little bit more work. But it's perfect timing now that the season's about to start, and we'll get some more content for that as well. We're going to do some trivia here along the way. We'll jump into that. I think it would probably behoove me to start talking about a little bit more news with everything that's happening as the season's coming up. We've had, I think, a more busy, silly season than we've really had in probably at least the last 3 or 4 years in particular, where it's not just the closing of Germain Racing and the Levine family team and the starting of other teams to take their place. So many sponsor announcements for the Trackhouse team alone really is something interesting to see. And, but I think for myself, what I'm really concerned about, maybe not concerned about, but what I'm anxious to see is how many of those teams are going to stick around and run the full season. How many of them are just going to be Daytona or just the super speedways, and how many of them are in the full season, especially if we get any of them beyond the initial 36 in the chartered system. That's still going to be interesting. It's very possible that as soon as even the following week for the Daytona infield road course, we could be all the way back down to 36 cars again because a lot of these guys don't want to run it. I hope that's not the case. I would love to be wrong about that, but that's what I'd be very interested to certainly see. It's as you've seen from the best season ever ad that Fox did just recently, which I'm generally happy with, although, why is Bubba Wallace's number upside down on his car? Why do they show Daytona when they're talking about Darlington's throwback weekend? Why do they do a lady in black kind of joke when she's not wearing black? They still kind of, it's still a little bit slipshod, unfortunately, but, still progress being made. I remember hearing best season ever many times in the years. I remember hearing it in 1993, and that certainly did not turn out to be the case. I remember hearing it in 2007 when Toyota came on board. But I think what's most interesting, I think it's certainly going to be a compelling season because, unlike 2001 when you had Dodge come into NASCAR, or 2007 when Toyota did, and the car of tomorrow as well, we have a year now where you have a lot of fluctuations of the teams. It seems like everybody's trying to cobble a Cup Series effort together, which is fantastic. I'm very big on teams and organizations and getting as many people out there as possible, and just getting as many of them competing as possible in that case. But at the same time, it's interesting that it didn't take a new manufacturer being introduced to cause that. Whether it's just the attention attracted by Michael Jordan's effort with Bubba Wallace or Pitbull with Trackhouse or anything else there. I mean, it's fascinating to see this change seemingly out of thin air, especially if they're still going to continue to introduce the next gen car this next year, which is very much up in the air. We don't know one way or the other. I do know, after talking with some folks on one of these small teams, that they are setting up an organization with an eye toward the next gen car as a way to kind of level the playing field. Which at the time that I was interviewing about that was back when it was originally going to be planned to be this year that the next gen car was going to be introduced. So I'm not sure if that's changed or anything. But again, this is a narrative I've heard before, because if you remember, back in the Bobby Ginn episode, we talked about the fact that Ginn was looking to grow a team, anticipating that the car of tomorrow was going to be leveling the playing field. Unfortunately, that certainly wasn't the case, especially in 07 and into the first part of 2008. Hendrick Motorsports figured out the car first. Gordon and Johnson pretty much settled the championship between themselves. And then in 2008, 3 drivers won about 90% of the races, between Kyle Busch with Toyota, Carl Edwards with Ford, and Jimmy Johnson with Chevy. Everybody else was just a distant, in the background there. Whether or not the next gen car is going to accomplish this, or if it's going to be history repeating itself yet again, that's very much up in the air. But I think a lot of these investors, a lot of these teams are certainly gambling on that to see if it really is going to be leveling the playing field. It definitely seems that NASCAR is throwing everything at this to try to make something happen, and not entirely getting rid of the splitter, not entirely getting rid of the big spoiler in some cases, at least some versions of the car we've seen. But yeah, I think in terms of the number of teams, though, I'm certainly excited about that, and that's going to be something that definitely talk about going forward, especially on NASCAR, when these teams, if these teams struggle or if they outperform beyond their expectations. That'll definitely be something that we'll be talking about, in addition to the continued battle for last place out there. Countless different storylines to talk about, I guess, really, with everything else. Very pleased with a lot of the announcements in the Xfinity series as well. Landon Castle, that got discussed in this video here, of course, with Morgan Shepherd returning to JD Motorsports. I think he's jumping into that organization at just the right time. Apparently, I guess the ride got freed up after BJ McLeod decided to commit more of his efforts to the Cup Series, the Live Fast team with Matt Tifft. Castle is a great journeyman driver, has done great work with Shepherd's team, great qualifier, which is going to be critical if we're going to get a large number of teams these different series here, in the races we're going to have qualifying, that is. But that'll be interesting to see. Good to see Ryan Vargas land again with the 6. I'll be interested to see how much TikTok is going to be continuing their backing from last year, considering how strong he did at the end of that season. My man Tommy Joe Martins got snubbed over at the NASCAR media appearance thing there for Fox and the other broadcast networks, which is disappointing, given the fact that at the end of last year, he had some of the best runs of the Xfinity Series regulars. Hopefully, he can serve a little bit of revenge there with some more strong runs at the beginning of this season. Goodness, I mean, we got to talk about, Kyle Larson's got a sponsor for Daytona, but the car looks the paint scheme is suspiciously similar to the Hendrick Motorsports generic paint scheme that they were probably going to run before they attracted the sponsor, or hustled it from wherever they were able to get it there. But good to see some kind of backing there on the number 5. Gosh, I mean, what else? I mean, somebody put out a list earlier of just the stories from this past week. But go ahead and drop in the comments if there's anything else you want me to certainly talk about on that, and we can cover that in the same breath here. Goodness, lots of stuff to cover on there. In the meantime, while talking about that, I got to also give a big thanks to NASCAR Man for, again, keeping me on board there and narrating his videos. If you haven't seen them already, parts 1 and 2 of his really ambitious series that he's working on the story behind the IRL and kart split, definitely check those out over at NASCAR Man History. He did a fantastic job on those. He's been kind of building towards this in a lot of other episodes he's done, talking about the Viceroy sponsorship and other drivers competing at the same time. He's put a lot of work into that. I'm just, I know I've been getting a lot of thanks on that as well. But again, I can't overemphasize that he's the one doing 90% of the work there. I'm just the one that's very fortunate to narrate the videos there and just add my, 15 cents on that. But he's done a great job on those videos. Definitely check those out if you haven't seen it already, if you're looking for some more content in between the upcoming 24 hours of Daytona this weekend, on top of everything else. But yeah, I really enjoyed that series. I was just watching that the other night, so that'll be interesting to certainly see. And let's see what else. Goodness, man, where do we even start here? I'm just looking through my Twitter feed from just the last few pictures. Austin Cindric's ride there in the number 33 is looks pretty clean. It looks like a kind of a Kurt Busch throwback almost. Interesting. Alex Labbe, rather. I'm getting rusty here. Alex Labbe not having sponsorship for part of the 2021 season. You would think, again, another driver that really performed well, especially at the end of last season. Still some time for things to kind of turn around on that. Staying with DGM Racing there with Mario Goslin. We'll find out what happens on that end. Jordan Anderson starting an Xfinity Series team. That one seemed to come out completely from left field, especially if we're talking about Anderson and his Truck Series team getting that top 5 run at Daytona just last year, and now looking to kind of take a stab at the Xfinity Series there. That one was certainly surprising there, so best of luck certainly to him on that same element there. Let's see. Scrolling through my Buffalo Bills tweets there too. That was a heartbreaker for sure. But Kansas City was just had a little bit too much for them, which is too bad. But maybe we'll have something turn around this next season. In the meantime, threw everything back in the box there. In the meantime, I did dig out my Morgan Shepherd Racing Ventures shirt here for tonight though, so I made sure to get the match at least for today. I was wondering, actually, I was just glancing at this. I don't think Shepherd's on this quilt here yet. I don't know if I didn't see any fabric for the 21, but some of the color schemes are going to be pretty similar to that. Super chat. Thank you so much, Beast of Metal, there for that. My big sticking points on the best season ever ad are A, the risk of backfiring, although any ad campaign has some risk of this, and B, see the next super chat. Oh, well, goodness. You don't have to do a super chat for each one there, but thank you so much for that there. Again, the risk of the ad backfiring again. It does remind me of, I remember hearing this in 1993, I guess even in 2001 when Fox was promoting it. Again, nobody can anticipate certainly difficulties of any kind or just storylines that anybody wants to anticipate. There's certainly a lot to talk about. The question is, will they talk about it? I think a lot, especially on the TV broadcast networks, they really need to change their strategy a bit in terms of how many stories they talk about. That's continued to be a problem. And it's even in the playoffs where, you would think that they have multiple playoff drivers to talk about, and then they don't even seem to really do that as much. It just becomes the Chase Elliott show, even before he wins a championship. And I'm sure that's going to stay, at least in the Clash, which is now on a road course, and then Daytona 500 qualifying, where he's won the pole multiple times now. That's going to continue on there too. Beast Metal, thanks again for the other super chat. Goodness, man. Giving space to the Boyer-Gordon beef when it's possibly been resolved for years instead of using it to push some of the up-and-comers, giving over the entire second ad to them magnifies this concern. Yeah, I mean, again, this was talked about a little bit earlier, the Gordon and Boyer thing. It has been, almost a decade ago with the thing at Phoenix. And they showed a little clip of it there from the ad, but it happened so quickly that I think a lot of people really wouldn't understand. If you're like a casual or outside the sport, or if you haven't been following the sport in a few years, I think you'd have a real difficult time trying to understand what that even means. Because the Gordon Boyer rivalry, it's not Pearson and Petty. With all due respect to both drivers there, it's not even the Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski thing in Texas from a few years ago. That one, the visuals of that and Gordon grabbing at Keselowski's uniform and stuff, that would have been a much easier visual to work with there, and getting them in the booth would have been really entertaining. With Gordon and Boyer, earlier, but that's just where it all worked out with Boyer retiring, and I guess that's the only card they had to play with that. But that is what it is with that. I hope is the microphone okay? I put it in a different spot here. I hope it's not rubbing against anything or something like that. I'm trying some different things here as we get it ready for the start of the season. I was watching this other podcast a while back, and he had his microphone in such a position that you could hear him swallow when he talked and stuff. And it's like, boy, I really don't want to do that. So definitely don't hesitate to tell me if it's not sounding good. So we're good. Mike's good. Okay, good. Because I want to try some different things to make sure that works for that. Goodness, I'm just going through the chat here. Anything else in this? I'm seeing some comments about ARCA. I was speaking with my ARCA correspondent, William Saki. He is going to still be doing some content on the ARCA National Series races this year. He's still working on some stuff himself there, but you'll still get some bonus content along the way on the website. So very thankful for his hard work there as well. So stay tuned for that. Our first coverage at the website is most likely going to be during speed weeks. Although I have another, I got a couple of things that are kind of stacking up here. I'm going to have a couple of announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'll go ahead and tease this here in a little bit. And both of them have to do with my, with a couple of ongoing projects I'm working on here. And I was about to go full on and just describe it, but we'll get some more information on that as we go along. I'm actually waiting for another email back on one of them. So actually, I'm not going to tell tales out of school on that yet, but I got a couple of things to talk about here. Stay tuned on the Twitter and the website there for more information on that. But the first articles are pretty much going to be the entry list storylines again. We'll break it up like we did last year, where we're going to start with the Clash and the 500, and then the Xfinity and Truck Series storylines are going to continue under the week. I was about to say the following week, but now it's 1 week. So we're going to pretty much have 2 entry list storyline articles in 1 week to cover all the divisions. And I'm anticipating those are probably going to be some of the longest articles on the site. I started working on those last year. I still need to add more detail to them and get some more content there for you guys. But that'll be how we'll start. And then, of course, following the last place battles in the Clash, duels, and the multiple races there for Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks at Daytona. We'll start another season from the back of the field there again. And yeah, I don't know which teams are going to shake out back there. I think there's a lot of ambiguity with these teams. Is it going to be a Trackhouse team? Is it going to be the Michael Jordan team? Is it going to be the Live Fast team? Carl Long's effort? Who knows? But that's going to be really interesting to see, and I'm anxious to start covering that again. Oh, goodness. Piece of metal. I didn't know you put another super chat up there. Thanks again. So much, man. You really don't have to do that, but thank you. Also, regarding the IndyCar Civil War series, I like how CART called itself a democracy when it functioned more like an oligarchy, as does the RTA and NASCAR. Well, there's a lot of comparisons, and I've seen some comments in that video talking about a lot of mistakes that IndyCar made and a lot of complaints even that would match up with concerns with NASCAR. Certainly the charter system sounds a lot like the 25-8 rule, doesn't it? Kind of trying to create a franchising system with guaranteed starting spots, a diminishing of the significance of major events. I think the playoff system has certainly done that to the first 26 races of the season, especially, 25 races. You had the cutoff races being significant in regard to the playoffs, but the first 25 races, including the Daytona 500, are being promoted as just relevant in terms of seeding in the playoffs or making the playoffs. Winning the race itself is kind of treated as secondary, which is disappointing. And you can even see some of that in the discussions of the Indy 500 in the CART and IRL series. Whether history repeats itself or if that's if there's some clear differences there, that's certainly something to talk about as well, for sure. Let's see. Rick Ware Racing looking into IndyCar. Yep, there's another one there too. I mean, goodness, it all certainly adds up. Do the icky shuffle. There we go. Yeah. We actually used to do that as a training exercise when I was in crew. We actually had to do kind of a coordination thing, and I'd watch Darrell Waltrip do it so many times that I was able to that was one of the few coordination exercises that was actually halfway decent at. A lot of the other ones I was terrible at, but that's a whole other story for sure. Let's see. Do I think Kyle Busch will win the Daytona 500? I was thinking about Kyle Busch a while back, and it's interesting how his multiple years of not winning it is not really treated in the same way as Dale Earnhardt's. I guess the way that he's lost it hasn't been as catastrophic enough. He seems to have problems more in the midway point of the race rather than dominating the race and having problems at the very end like Earnhardt did. I think if he got to that point in his career, It's kind of closer to like what Tony Stewart's career was like, where he was only close to winning the 500, maybe 2, maybe 3 times in his career, and just towards the end there. I guess you could look at 2004 when he was second to Earnhardt Jr., 2005 when he dominated and got dropped back, in 2008 when he led on like one of the last restarts and got passed by Ryan Newman. You could say 2011, but he was really completely out of nowhere on that one, on the 2-car tank. So maybe, but with Kyle Busch, he seems to just always have just the worst tire failures. And then even last year had an engine failure. Seems like engine failures you just don't see as much, especially on the super speedways anymore. They just build these things like Sherman tanks nowadays. So it's not as much of a concern, but yeah, I don't know what we're going to have on that aspect. Derek Cope running the Daytona 500. I guess we got to talk about that. At 62 years old, running the 500, I think it's fantastic. I thought it was great when we had Mark Thompson come back after running the Phoenix Air car back in the 1990s, and now having the current record as the oldest driver to start the 500. And basically, it's going to be a second Starcom racing car. It's going to use Rick Ware's number 15 to give it a guaranteed spot in the race. So it's going to be the same team number, basically, the Ross Chastain and other drivers have driven in the last couple of years. But a second Starcom car to go with Quinn Houff. Yeah, going to be really interesting to see. As we talked about in the Arnold Motorsports thing, he hasn't started the 500 since 2004. The sport has changed a great deal since then. He's run races more recently than that. I think it was 2018 at Darlington was his last time in the Bojangles throwback. So it hasn't been that long since he's been in a Cup car. It's not like this car is completely foreign to him. But I think it's going to be certainly, one of, again, many stories to certainly talk about going into it. Any kind of a throwback in that sense is certainly going to be something exciting at the same time. Yeah, real excited about the Rolex 24. I mean, you certainly got a lot of Cup guys that are mixed in there, but you don't really need that for it to be a great race there. Certainly something I've enjoyed more in the last few years. When I was working the night shift, it seemed like I always worked that weekend, which was great because actually I could, on my lunch break, I could watch the sunrise there when it was 4 o'clock Pacific time and closer to 7 o'clock there on Eastern time, and then see that and watch the finish of the race right after my shift ended. That was fun. This will be the first year really since then that I'll be off that weekend. So working with normal circadian rhythms, it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. But I'm going to try to watch as much of it as I can. I don't know if I'm going to do a full on like last car thing for it. Probably not. I don't know what their timing and scoring is like for IMSA. I'll probably just watch it just more recreationally, like with the Snowball Derby last month. But I will be watching it though. I've really enjoyed road course racing in general, in particular. But the 24-hour race is always really fun to see, and I love the idea of it just continuing to go on through the night. I just hope we don't have as much issues with rain, which in Florida is asking a lot, especially in late January. I hope we don't have a situation like that where the weather really plays a significant factor and it's either stopped or slowed a lot. When we had just a couple of years ago, we had the record for the most laps complete in that race. That was really exciting to talk about. So if it gets, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I mean, what we got was Jimmy Johnson's in it, right? You got all kinds of different competitors in there. I think that's going to be fun to see. You got the link to the timing and scoring set at? Okay, yeah. If you could shoot me the link there, that'd be great. Goodness, Timothy Peters in the Truck Series. Yeah, I mean, there's lots to talk about. I haven't heard anything on Brennan Poole. I'm not sure on that. Saw the person there in the comment there with Morgan Shepherd as his username. Right on, man. You should be in the Rolex 24. That would be an experience right there. You want to talk about breaking the age barrier there. Gosh. What was it? I think Iceberg did a video where he's like hyping Alex Bowman for this year. I'm not sure. Or was he hyping Bowman or Byron? I mean, there was something like that. I think Chase Elliott had such a good season last year. I guess it's only natural to look at the rest of the team and how well they're going to perform. Kyle Larson, of course, having as much hype as he's having. I think Chase still, I think, is probably going to be in his own zip code in terms of the other Chevy teams this year. It just feels that way. I think really what we're going to have to look at is Ford and their general approach. I think they were so good in the Xfinity Series last year, and really, you know, Brad Keselowski was giving Chase Elliott a pretty good run for the championship last year. I'm not a fan of the Keystone Light sponsorship on the 2 car. That just looks completely wrong. In my mind, Keystone is still the red and white paint scheme that Wally Dallenbach ran in the for Roush Racing back in the 90s. Seeing it as a blue and white paint scheme, I get that. I guess the company's logos are like that now, but you know, it just feels wrong. It doesn't look right. I'm sure I'll get used to it with anything else, but that's the least of the issues there. I still think, in terms of, if you got to look at a 500 pick, I still think this race is Ryan Blaney's to lose. Even though the season hasn't started yet, given how well he'd been running at all the super speedway races last year, given how relentless he is, especially in the late laps, even when he was driving for the Wood brothers, in the last 3 or 4 years, it seems like Blaney is always a factor at the end of these things. I think he's going to be very tough. And again, the Ford teams in general, they seem like they just really have the knack on all that. I mean, even Carl Long's team has been running Fords on the super speedways here. You know, they seem to just have something kind of figured out. Also on the Ford message there on the Xfinity Series side, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen with Ryan Sieg switching to Ford. I think that just completely came out of nowhere. I really thought they were going to stay with Chevy just forever and ever. They made so much ground up with that. Are we going to get a scenario like Stewart-Haas Racing did, where they seemed like they're going to stick with Chevy and that was never going to change, and then they switched to Ford, and Kevin Harvick's having kind of a career resurgence that's, you know, kind of made him almost the ageless driver that's out there these days. You know, are we going to get something like that? I don't know. Also in the Ford contingent, back on the Cup Series side, I think Chase Briscoe is going to be very tough this year. I think we're going to see a resurgence of the number 14 team back to a level from before. I know that his Xfinity Series deal last year, it's hard to transpose that directly to Cup, whole other level of competition. But given how well that Tyler Reddick in general had performed last year, and he didn't win last year, but you know, knocking on the door from that second place run at Texas, I think Briscoe is at least capable of that, and certainly the Stewart-Haas team is you know, on the upswing there too. And then Austin Cindric getting some runs in the 33, like we were talking about earlier, getting ready to run the 21 next year. I think Ford is looking to have a real strong year this year. And I think, if anything, Chevy and Toyota need to worry about being too complacent with what they have. Certainly Joe Gibbs Racing, you know, has been a standard for so many years on the Toyota side. I think Ford is they're going to be the ones to watch. Are we going to, is it going to be something like the 2000 season where they introduced a new model? I mean, we're not having that this year, you know, really with that, but are we going to have something of that level? Probably not, but I think they're going to be the really tough ones, especially as the season gets started. Chase Elliott may be the champion. He may be the most popular driver and everything, and we may have a road course in the second race of the season. But I think that's going to be one to really kind of look at going forward. It was a Bowman hype vid. Okay, there you go. Let's see. Who do you think we'll see going home? It's going to be very, very tough for teams on the fringe, like Carl Long's team, for example. That's going to be kind of a heartbreaking thing. They may actually have to be in a position to race their way in or get like just a really good qualifying run. Timmy Hill is certainly capable of that in the 66. He had a career week last year in Speed Weeks. If he can certainly pull something like that off again, that would certainly be fantastic. But I'm worried that they're going to be in a difficult situation now that we have real high-powered rides that are in the go or go home position. Not just JTG's 37 with Ryan Preece. Preece may have had a really awful year last year, but he's not an awful driver. He just had terrible luck. All of JTG had problems there. I think he can be right back in the mix of it again. You got Colleague Racing there with Kaz Gralla. Gralla is outstanding there in the Xfinity Series. Even when he was driving for Fury race cars, you seem to give that kid anything. You know, he'll have a good run. He had a show car at Daytona a couple of years ago for the 61 car and got like a great run out of that in the Xfinity Series side. And of course, Colleagues team in general, their checkers are wreckers, so they're going to be tough. You got the Penske car for Austin Cindric that's going to be really tough. You got goodness, you got Noah Gragson that's getting in the Beard Motorsports car, no relation. In the 62 car, Brendan Gaughan was always great at getting that thing in there. Gragson is going to be checkers or wreckers too. I mean, that's just going to be too many cars going for too few spots there, which is, the drama of the qualifying races and qualifying in general. Those are going to be very, very difficult ones to deal with. Ty Dillon just got the Gaunt Brothers ride, at least for Daytona. Again, he got a stage win at Talladega not long ago. He's not one to turn your back on at the super speedways either. A lot of different people that you could point at that could actually, will almost certainly lock up the spots that are going to be secured by speed. But you're going to have some fast cars that are even going to miss that cut, and then competing for those last couple of this 40 car. I think really, if we had it back to 43 again, you would have a good cross section from this particular group and still have a lot of teams get sent home that maybe should or shouldn't be out of the field. McMurray, thank you. Yeah, another one there too. Jamie McMurray coming back. You got he's not locked in, right? So you got that one, but yeah, I think that's going to be a really tricky one there too. I saw a comment there on Eric Jones. That's another one. We talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago. I think he is in a good position to be kind of the real dark horse here. I think he can be just like Bubba Wallace was back in 2018, getting some limited backing. I don't even know what their primary sponsor is. Everybody's made a huge deal about Kyle Larson not having a sponsor and making their own hype videos like, oh my God, Kyle Larson doesn't have a sponsor. Oh no. Like, where's Eric Jones in all this? I haven't heard anybody say anything about that. They had literally all those sponsors in the 43 go with Bubba Wallace to the Michael Jordan's team. Completely expected, of course, because that's, the big effort there. Those two teams between Trackhouse and Michael Jordan's team, they're doing a boffo job attracting sponsorship. That's usually the biggest problem for these startups. But so kudos to both of them. But the Petty team, they got some issues, I think, in real backing for the rest of this year. Are they going to just? I don't know what their sponsor even is for Daytona this year. Have they even made an announcement? I haven't seen anything. Every shot I've seen of Eric Jones so far, he's just wearing a generic Petty Enterprises shirt, and he's signing a lot of merch that's left over from Joe Gibbs Racing. So, that's gonna be interesting. Interesting to see. Oh, he was wearing an Air Force uniform. Right on. Okay, that'll be cool. So, that's gonna be something on that side. And then really, from beyond that, you have to look at a lot of other drivers that have been kind of hot or cold these last couple of years. And where are they going to land on that spectrum? You'd have that in any season, but particularly this year, somebody like Aric Almirola or Kurt Busch or, drivers like that, or Ricky Stenhouse Jr., drivers that, are not always, in the mix on a regular basis, but, have had flashes of brilliance, especially on the super speedways. Can they really do something that can turn around? Chris Buescher is another driver that comes to mind. Can they really, kind of turn things around? What's Ryan Newman going to be like this year? Is he going to be able to make a championship push or at least locking himself into the playoffs? Who's going to be the real model of consistency this year? Is Matt DiBenedetto finally going to cash in and get the Wood Brothers their 100th win in his last contract year with the Wood Brothers before Cindric takes over? Certainly the Daytona 500 is going to be one that they're going to have circled on the calendar, because between DiBenedetto's great run at Talladega last year and Las Vegas last year, and also DiBenedetto, leading the most laps in the 95 car before that, and was that 2019? Great runs on that end. That'll be interesting. And really have even more teams spring up on the list. What used to be the most exciting thing about Speed Weeks is you would just have some other teams just completely come out of nowhere and get cobbled together. Is it, you could have somebody that maybe we even talk about in the Field Fillers series, putting something together. I think, that may seem really impossible at this point, but hey, Derek Cope and Jamie McMurray are going to be competing for the Daytona 500 with guys like Noah Gragson and Chase Elliott. Anything's possible, I think, at this point. So it's really exciting, and everybody has reason to be excited. And who knows where it's going to shake out? I don't know what the speed charts are going to look like there. You could just as easily have the Trackhouse team dominate practice and Bubba Wallace take the pole in qualifying, and who's going to be the last place finisher? I have no idea. I don't have the foggiest idea. So that'll be something. Oh, confirmation playing the stock market here. Hold the line there. Okay, well, I'm no expert on that, and I am certainly not going to be providing any financial advice here tonight. I am not putting anything out there on that. I do have my Dogecoin shirt somewhere. I thought about wearing it today, but I wasn't sure if that was going to be too forced there for tonight. But thank you so much for the super chat there, of course, as well. Man, oh man, yeah, lots to talk about. What do we even have Justin Haley on the list? I mean, we had Haley. Interesting. Uh-oh, I am seeing a statement here. It says my connection's unstable, so I apologize if cut out here a little bit. Hopefully it's not too bad. We'll do some trivia here in a little bit on this. We'll actually probably jump into that. Are we still good? Let me know if we're getting some issues with the video here, guys. And once it stabilizes, we'll go into some trivia. I'm just looking through the rest of the comments here in the meantime. Oh gosh, yeah, I forgot about AJ Allmendinger is back. Yeah, he's doing the Xfinity ride there with a colleague, right? He got a full season ride, right? Because they did that teaser last year. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to literally just study this stuff when I get the entry list articles done and get that rolling. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything else up here. Yeah, the Gen 7 car. Talking about that. Let's see. Intermittent buffering. Okay, yeah, that's not great. Yeah, full year Xfinity. Gonna do some cup races. Yeah, there we go. Oh, is Iceberg doing a stream too? I didn't know that. I don't know. Well, I appreciate as I say, we have many options as to which streams you jump in on. I appreciate you guys jumping into this one and doing that. For those of you in here, before we get into trivia, we'll do some trivia questions to wrap up. I have a thing I found on eBay this week that I thought was pretty hip. Speaking of car number 89, take a look at this. Here is a diecast of Jim Sauter, the late Jim Sauter, the Evan Rude car, the Mueller Brothers team, which of course hired Dean Roper back in the day. Autographed by Jim Sauter on here, so you can kind of take a look at that. Notice the picture in the card here. Now here's what sold me on this. This was cool enough already. But check this out. Also included in it was the original photograph that was used for the card. Right there. Same picture. Now that I have no idea how this person found it. I tried to get the actual story behind this, but you can see a little bit of the date stamp here. February 16th of 91. I don't know if this is literally the day of the race or before qualifying or anything, but there is writing on the back of it. And it says February 91 Daytona. Photo I took of Jim to use in Racing Champions cars. It says on the back of it. Oh, I don't know. You can't see that very good. I'll bring that up there so you can see that a little better. So yeah, I don't know. I got to find a place to display this. When we get a little bit more settled into Last Car headquarters here, a little further down the line, this may be something they'll have to put in the display there. So kudos to the folks there on eBay on there. I'm going to definitely put that in a very safe place here in the meantime, but definitely got to show you guys that in the meantime. So thought that was pretty cool. Getting ready for the season to start. I hardly ever find anything from the current teams anymore. It's the old school stuff. You just never know what you're going to find these days. And I thought that was pretty hip. So definitely want to share that with you guys. Alrighty. So without any further ado, we're going to jump into some trivia here to wrap up the show tonight. Hopefully the buffering doesn't slam down here in the meantime. Yeah, I see the comment here from Scott Feldhausen. Yeah, if you're having trouble watching the stream due to buffering, you can change video quality to a lower one. This is an HD camera that we're doing this on. So if it's too much for your bandwidth or anything, certainly change that. In the meantime, I'm checking the bars here on mine. Looks like we're doing okay. So we'll kind of check that out. Ooh, a guy on eBay had a Harry Gant pit road banner. Ooh, man, that would be a tough one to pass up. All right. Okay. So we'll do with categories again here. No tires, just gas. Hopefully you're still in here. I know you're always anxious for trivia. Okay, the categories again are drivers. Let's see. I'm sorry. We'll start from the top. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Excuse me. These are again NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. We got a Kyle Busch pit wall banner from Phoenix. Right on. Oh, confirmation. Thank you again for the super chat here. Between Indy Road Course, COTA, and Road America, which one of you are most looking forward to seeing a cup race on? Ooh, very good question. Very good question. I don't know a lot about COTA. I don't watch Formula One. I just think it's practically unwatchable these days. I'd be interested in seeing, the race there. It seems like that track is, I don't know. I think some of the other circuits are going to have some difficulty there. I don't, and they're going to run all three series there that weekend too, aren't they? They're going to do Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. Maybe it'll be a great show. Maybe it'll be. I'm hoping it's like Montreal, that if it's a real tight and twisty course, that it's going to put on a really good show. I'd rather they just go to Montreal instead of going to COTA, to be quite honest. The Indy Road Course, I was very skeptical of it. But I really enjoyed the Xfinity race there last year. I know they're going to put on a good show, whatever the weather conditions are. But if I were to pick one, I would say Road America is the one I'm most excited about. I really enjoyed Road America's the Xfinity series. Seeing Cup there, I think is going to be really cool. Hopefully, we'll try to get William out there for that. We'll see what his schedule looks like, because that's his home track. I know he's excited about that weekend. So we'll kind of look ahead there. That's still a ways off. We'll see what the media arrangements and everything looks like. But between them, I would say Road America would be the one I'm most excited about. That's definitely the one that's top of the list here. So that would be something to definitely check out. So good question there, confirmation. Thank you for thank you for the super chat there as well. Let's see, what categories did everybody have here? Edson Zazueta. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. Thank you so much for joining here from Mexico. Thank you. I love to get the international viewers here. I think we had somebody from England in here a little bit earlier tonight. I don't know if we had that person from, what was it, Belgium in our last show that was up at like 5 a.m. watching the Phoenix Racing episode when it debuted. So kudos to all of you there. So thank you for jumping in on board. Feel free to stick around for the trivia here. We'll do some questions. I think, what was it? We got 2 for tracks, 1 for team, 1 for the wild card. We got 2 for wild card. We'll do tracks. I don't think we've done that one in a while. We'll jump into that one. Alrighty. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. What Eastern track, first question of the night, what Eastern track did ISC obtain full ownership of in 1997? Track ownership question. What Eastern track did ISC obtain full ownership of in 1997? All right. Yeah, tracks, drivers, and wildcard. Yeah, it's close on that one. We'll do tracks. We haven't done this one in a while, and we can always change it up here. All right. What Eastern track did ISC obtain full ownership of in 1997? That is our first question of the night. It is not Nathaniel Ivey. I did see somebody sent me the EA Sports one, and I laughed entirely too hard at that. The one where just E's just flood the screen until it's all red. Yeah, that worked. It achieved the desired results. That was certainly the case. David Pequeen, thank you for the message on Twitter here. He pointed out that the Passion, Keep the Passion Going logo appeared as early as Richmond 2 in 2004. So great catch on that. Yeah, I thought it was at Dover. That's as early as I could find it. I didn't have qualifying for the second Richmond race, so I couldn't confirm it. But yeah, I do have a picture to confirm it. So thank you, David, on that. Again, another great follower of the site there. Does a fantastic job with his photographs and verifying some of the historical details here. What Eastern track did ISC obtain full ownership of in 1997? The answer is Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen. I guess ISC acquired it from the Corning Glass Works, I suppose, there. Watkins Glen is the correct answer. Did anybody get that? Wilkesboro seemed like the right answer. The ones that were guessing that, I think you were on the right track. Watkins Glen is the correct answer. Yeah, I guess the Corning Glass Works owned it for quite a bit longer. It says Watkins Glen. I mean, it could be wrong. It could be wrong. If that's wrong, it would not be the first time. Okay, good. This category has been harder already. Okay. Who won the first race run on Richmond's redesigned Raceway in 1988? Don't look it up. Just try to guess it. Who won the first race run on Richmond's redesigned Raceway in 1988? I'm going to save this picture of Morgan Shepherd's car from Richmond. That's going to have to go in the archives. Thank you. Glad I conditioned that and said perhaps the first appearance of this logo. So there we go. Alrighty. Whoop. Open the wrong window. Let's get this one here. Alrighty. Who won the first race run on Richmond's redesigned Raceway in 1988? We have guesses for Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, Neil Bonnet, Senior, Wallace, Petty, Davey Allison, a driver. There we go. Good guess. And the answer is indeed Davey Allison. Stephen Robert, looks like you were the first one to the button on that one. So right on. Davey Allison. Speaking of Neil Bonnet there, I was very tickled by that picture that I found there of Neil Bonnet in the 31 car. Very hard to find pictures, not of the Talladega car that flipped into the catch fence, but the Atlanta car that he started and parked for Earnhardt. That's only the second picture I've ever seen of that car. Check out my Twitter feed at Last Car on Brock if you haven't seen it yet. Great picture there. That one turned up on Facebook. I think it was in Nixon's NASCAR Nixon's group there. It turned up on that. So big credit there for that. But a great picture there of Neil in the car for that one as well. All right, next question here in the tracks category. Who holds the record for consecutive poles at the same track? Not at any particular track, but at the same track. Question, I'll repeat it again. Who holds the record for most consecutive poles at the same track? The Wii U, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Excellent. That's what it's all about. No points, no nothing like that. Just for fun here to wrap up the show tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in there. Thank you especially to also the members of the Livestream as well. We had a few new people join up after the Shepherd episode premiered earlier this week for our Patreon members. So big thanks to those of you who joined up on there. Your names will be added to the side of the car for our next episode, in the Field Fillers episode, and we'll take it from there. Who holds the record for most consecutive poles at the same track? I assume in the Cup Series. And most of these are Cup questions. Doesn't seem to distinguish a Busch question or a Truck Series question. Okay, we got Pearson at Charlotte. Excuse me. Darrell Waltrip, Pearson, Yarborough, Petty. All righty, it was indeed a person. And the answer is indeed David Pearson, Silver Fox. Who was the first one to the button on that one? I think Blake Thiemann, looks like you got it there. It's time for a little bit of our unofficial sponsor here. Let's label out. There we go. Yes, need the code red. Hope you all are safe with the, not just with all the other stuff going on in the world, but particularly the weather. I don't know about you guys. We had some serious rain here on the West Coast this week. It's still raining out there a little bit right now. And then we had some snow up not too far up the road. Typically, I go a little bit further into the foothills for work there, right up about the snow line. And actually had to turn back around because I just drive a two-wheel drive car there, and the snow started coming in heavy and started covering the parking lot pretty good. So didn't want to get trapped in that, so headed out of that one pretty good there. But beautiful weather, though. I mean, we certainly need the rain here on the West Coast, given everything from last year in particular. I'm so happy to see that. But I know that on the other side there, the other side of the country, I know the weather is even more blustery out there. So hope you're staying warm and staying safe out there at the same time, and enjoying a little bit of trivia here to help keep you warm at the same time here too. All right, next question. What NASCAR Winston? Oh, did I do the answer? Yeah, it was Pearson. It was Pearson on the last one. What NASCAR Winston Cup track is nestled by Andretti Road? Do the do, absolutely. What NASCAR Winston Cup track is nestled by Andretti Road? I was originally hanging on to this one for the Super Bowl, but that's no longer necessary. So that's what I'm using that one for. What NASCAR Winston Cup track is nestled by Andretti Road? We got guesses for Pocono and Indy and IRP. Pretty bad snow in the Albany area. There you go. Wow, -20 outside today for Stock Talk. My goodness. Yeah, when it gets like 28 or 29 in my neck of the woods, that already feels polar to me. Like I'm not used to that. Back at our old headquarters, it didn't get nearly that cold, but that's in the rearview mirror now. I'm very pleased. You'll be happy to know if you care to know, the person that when we sold my old place, the person that has it now is taking really good care of it. I haven't seen it personally myself, but my brother went down there and checked that out, so that was nice to know. You always like to know that they're taking good care of it there. Still in a transitional period here for myself here in the meantime, but the headquarters here may change sometime this year, but we're kind of playing it by ear right now. It's not really a high priority. Happy to have it with the quilt here in the background. This will pretty much be the setup for a lot of our shows, certainly through the first part of this season. So we'll have that. Anyway, back to the question. What NASCAR Winston Cup track is nestled by Andretti Road? The answer is Pocono. The answer is indeed Pocono. Several of you got that one there. Several of you got that. Alexander Luft, it looks like you were the first one on that one, or Luft. Very good. Managed to drive a rear-wheel pickup truck through a foot of snow to get an old job a few times. Man, yeah, that's a little bit more than I want to do. I'll tell you that. My Altima doesn't really. It gets over hills very nicely, but it doesn't. I don't think it likes the snow too much. But yeah, this week alone, it's been crazy. We had a deep freeze on Tuesday. It frosted the back of the car there pretty good, and then we had the snow a week ago today. That was up there. That was nuts. But yeah. All right, here we go. Next question. What track is heralded as the place where drivers, quote, earn their stripes? What track is heralded as the place where drivers earn their stripes? And earn their stripes is in quotes. What track is heralded as the place where drivers earn their stripes? Okay, seeing several Darlingtons pop up. We got a Hickory, we got a Farmington, we got a Darrell Slashington. Got the Lady in Black. We got, okay, we'll see. What track is heralded as the place where drivers earn their stripes? Zartha? Oh, there you go. There's one. You're always going for the fun answers. Alrighty. What track is heralded as the place where drivers earn their stripes? And the answer is indeed Darlington. One of you that guessed Hickory. That was also a very good guess. I think that would literally be a track where people earn their stripes. Certainly Morgan Shepherd was a perfect example of that in the episode tonight. E-Speedway. I like that one. They should just have it be like, a perfectly... I guess you could make it a lowercase e. Well, no, it'd have to be a big E. It would have to be like the meme. You would have to have just a really long straightaway and 90-degree turns in every jagged shape to get through that. That would be, you would earn several stripes at that track, I will tell you that. All right, we'll do a couple more questions here, and we'll probably wrap up for tonight. Next question is, what type of trees lined the track at Martinsville in the early years? Okay. Now, there's got to be somebody out there that's was it arborist or just a tree expert in general. What type of trees lined the track at Martinsville in the early years? Don't look it up. Just go ahead and guess. What type of trees lined the track at Martinsville in the early years? Okay, we got several guesses. Pine, maple, eucalyptus, dogwoods, oak, pine, oak. Several guesses. Walnut, cedar. There we go. We're going to go through pretty much the entire dictionary here pretty soon. What type of trees lined the track at Martinsville in the early years? Cherry? All right, here we go. Here it comes. Here comes the answer. What kind of trees at Martinsville? The answer is dogwoods. Dogwoods. Somebody had that. Yes, Scott Feldhausen. Looks like you. Were you the first one? I think you were. Yeah, dogwoods. No, Stock Talk. You got just in front of Scott there. Stock Talk. Good on you. I speak for the trees. Exactly. Nathaniel Ivey. Man, you're definitely having fun on this one. Dogwoods, yeah. I wouldn't have been my guess either. I would not have guessed that. It seemed like, yeah, pine. I don't know. I know when I did the JD book, I literally asked the track historian what kind of trees were around the track, because I wanted to kind of paint a picture in the description there. I'm trying to remember what it was, but I know it's in the book. I know I put it in there, but I've already forgotten it again. But I know that was a question that came up. So this thing seems to be thinking along the same lines. Here we go. This is a fun one. Don't look this one up. Don't go to Racing Reference. Close that tab right now. Who claimed the pole in the final NASCAR Winston Cup event at North Wilkesboro? Who claimed the pole at the final NASCAR Winston Cup event at North Wilkesboro? The pole. Looking for a driver name there. Oh, the Dogwood 500. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, that's a point, Scott. Who claimed the pole in the final NASCAR Winston Cup event at North Wilkesboro? The final one. Who claimed the pole in the final NASCAR Winston Cup event at North Wilkesboro? I guess it's for Ted Musgrave, Gordon, Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, Bobby Hamilton, Martin, Rusty Wallace. I'll let a few more guesses come in here. Who claimed the pole in the final NASCAR Winston Cup event at North Wilkesboro? Father Time, Morgan Shepherd. All righty, here we go. And the answer is indeed Ted Musgrave, the Family Channel car. The Prime Star Family Channel car, I guess. Well, I guess 96, it was still the Family Channel car. Ted Musgrave, Glenn 7000, you were right on it. You were right on it. But you were, yeah, several of you got that one. Set Head 2, several of you. All righty. We'll do a couple more here. What major southwestern city opened a raceway in 1964? What major southwestern city opened a raceway in 1964? Southwestern city. What major southwestern city opened a raceway in 1964? Okay, we only got a few guesses so far. What major southwestern city opened a raceway in 1964? Yeah, I guess it's for Phoenix and Riverside and College Station, Texas. Alrighty, what major southwestern city opened a raceway in 1964? Downey, California? Maybe it was Ontario, but I got to stick with Phoenix. Dogwood. The answer is indeed Phoenix. Phoenix. Scott Fellhausen, you got that one. You're the first on that one. All right, let me find it. See if I can get a more harder one. Okay, no, not that one. Ooh. Oh, here we go. All right, here we go. Last question of the night. Last question of the night. All right, get your hands on your buzzers, folks. Last question of the evening here. What long-running NASCAR Winston Cup oval was Bobby Allison winless at? What long-running NASCAR Winston Cup oval was Bobby Allison winless at? Yeah, think about that one. Don't look it up. Just go ahead and guess it. What long-running NASCAR Winston Cup oval was Bobby Allison winless at? What oval? Which oval was Bobby Allison winless at, basically? That he never won. All right, we got ones. We got Bristol, we got Talladega, we got Martinsville, we got Pocono, we got Nashville, we got Atlanta. Okay, good. We got a good cross section here. This is a good challenging one. What long-running NASCAR Winston Cup oval was Bobby Allison winless at? Winless. Bobby Allison, leader of the Alabama gang, winless in his career, and this is a long career. We're talking up to 88 here, so that's quite the career and quite a lot of ovals. But which one was Bobby Allison winless at? Okay, we got a good cross-section here. Yeah, Rockingham, Atlanta, Nashville, Martinsville, Darlington. All righty. Okay, the answers are slowing down a little bit. I'll read the question one more time, and then we'll do the answer. What long-running NASCAR Winston Cup oval was Bobby Allison winless at? Last question of the night. And the answer is Martinsville. Martinsville. Several good guesses across the board here, but Martinsville is the winner. Martinsville. Who was the first one? Stephen Robert. It looks like you might have been right ahead of James Braun. There you go. Excellent, excellent. Well, here, let me pull that up, actually, in the meantime. Now I'm going to open racingreference.info, and I'm going to look that one up. All right. All righty. Stats by the Cup Series. Martinsville, 44 starts, no wins, 17 top fives, 28 top tens, and 4 poles, but no wins. Some of the other guesses here: Bristol, he had 4 wins. Atlanta, he had 5 wins. Rockingham, he had 4 wins. I think those are the ones. Pocono, he had 3 wins. I don't think anybody guessed Dover. That was one of his best tracks. He had 7 wins there. 7 wins also at Richmond. Yeah, quite the career. That's how you get 85 wins. All righty. Well, with that, folks, that'll do it for the show here tonight. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for checking out episode 5 of Rise of the Field Fillers. Episode 6 now in the works. Will be out sometime after the season starts. Anticipating either late February, early March, depending on how long it takes to get that particular material together. But that'll be really exciting to cover as well. So stay tuned for more information on that. In the meantime, at Last Car on Brock is the Twitter. Patreon.com/Last Car on Brock is the Patreon. LastCar.info is the website. New content coming up in just a matter of days now as we get ready for Daytona Speed Weeks. Couple of announcements that I'm almost ready to make. I'm still waiting for some stuff there, so stay tuned for that. Hopefully I won't have to tease that too much more before I finally do. So it'll be pretty exciting at that point. But we'll get that going, and we'll get ready for 2021 and all the unpredictability that I'm sure we're going to certainly have in the racing season this year. So thank you again for everyone for tuning in. Have a safe evening, and remember, last happens.